Good morning, everyone. So before we begin, I just want to acknowledge that we're meeting on the traditional, ancestral, unceded territories of the First Nations and Native American peoples. So here where I am in Vancouver, those peoples are the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish nations. I know where you are, you might be on the land of other nations. If you'd like, please feel free to write those nation names in the chat. Always, but especially during these difficult days, let's remember our connection to our sisters and brothers in these nations and pray for the day in which we might be with them in right relationship. So welcome. Welcome to Living Interfaith. Know that the whole of you is welcome. You're not asked to leave who you are in your own homes. Please bring who you are in with you. What you are asked to remember is that everyone around you has brought who they are in with them as well. And all of goodwill are welcome. When you're ready, let's sing.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of living, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, here to King, come, come, whoever you are. Though you've broken your vows a thousand times, though you've broken your vows a thousand times, come yet again, come, come, whoever you are. Though you've broken your vows a thousand times, ours is no caravan of desires. Come yet again, come.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Bruce and Cheryl. So I have a few announcements. The first is, as I mentioned last week, if anyone's interested in joining the community nurture team, led by Cynthia and Dan Hoffman, it'd be wonderful. You're more than welcome to. It's just a way to stay in touch with folks, to kind of follow up when people have anything particularly wonderful in their lives, to follow up with them about that, or if they're going through something challenging or just would like to connect more. It's a great way to kind of stay in touch outside of these Saturday morning gatherings. So if you're interested in that, please feel free to connect with Cynthia or Dan, or you can write to me and I can get you in touch with one of them. So thank you. Also, as I mentioned before, we're looking for a treasurer. We otherwise have a full board, but we are in the process of trying to figure out how to reapply for charity status. But in order to do that, we need to have all our offices filled. So if anyone would like to help in that way, I promise it wouldn't be a huge amount of time because my assistant Sukhmani does all the bookkeeping and we have an accountant that follows up more specifically, but we do need someone who can help in a little way, keeping track of finances. So if you feel called in that direction, that would be a big help to us so we can reapply for charity status. Thank you. Our friend Harold Rosen is teaching this afterlife series. It's amazing. Everything Harold does is amazing, so this isn't a surprise. But this is so wonderful. And so every month we get together once a month to talk about the afterlife from a different series of faith traditions. So our next gathering will be on Wednesday, October 12th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. It'll be on Zoom, so it's online like all of our gatherings. And it'll explore South Asian beliefs, including those from Hinduism, Buddhism, and the Sikh tradition. So if you're interested, please let me know. I can get you the link for that. So not this coming Wednesday, but I believe the following one should be great. And finally, the Surrey Interfaith Council is partnering with Mosaic to present its first in-person roundtable discussion. The topic will be tackling racism. How do we move to being part of the solution? So that's going to take place in person on Thursday, October 20th, from 10 a.m. to 12 noon at the Surrey Central Library, room 401. All are welcome to attend. So thank you so much. Those are the announcements I have. Welcome to those who just joined. It's great to see you. And are there any other announcements that I left out? I think, yes, Samir, I think you have one.
It's not one you left out, but I just wanted to let people know that I've been looking for a service project for the sanctuary. And what I'm thinking of is joining, like volunteering at the Metrovan repair cafes, where people, like once a month, there's a day where people bring in, older items that they're not able to use and, and would be throwing away or recycling and buying a new one. And, people there try to fix these up, fix items up. I've spoken to them, I've sent them an email, and I'm waiting for a response to figure out whether, it would work for our group. But like I'm asking them questions about whether, like they need people for the full day or is just a few hours okay, and whether, they have enough need for people without any specific expertise in fixing something. And I said, like we'd be willing to learn. But yeah, if I can provide, if you're interested, I can provide a few more details in like the social hour, and I can keep those who are interested in the loop as I work out details with them.
Samir, can I just say one thing? The other thing you can do is just show up and observe. And that's what some people do at ours. They come and see what's going on, and then they can ask questions directly to people. Bring your children, see what's happening. So that's another idea on how to, get some information.
Okay. Thank you, Dolores. And thanks for the information you sent me when I asked you about this. But yeah, we can chat more during the social time.
Perfect. No, that's great. Thank you so much, Samir, for taking that on. Really appreciate it. Are there any other announcements before we get started? Okay. Well, if not, let's just come into silence for a moment. I have a prayer from the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The unnameable is the eternally real. Naming is the origin of all particular things. Free from desire, you realize the mystery. Caught in desire, you see only the manifestations. Yet mystery and manifestations arise from the same source. This source is called darkness. Darkness within darkness, the gateway to all understanding. All movement returns to the Tao. Weakness is how the Tao works. All creation is born from substance. Substance is born of nothingness. Thank you. And now when you're ready, let's offer one another a sign of peace. Peace, everyone. So wonderful being with you this morning.
Peace to all.
Peace to all.
Peace and love.
Assalamu alaikum. Allahu
Peace
Akbar.
to all.
Peace, everyone.
Friends.
Peace be with you.
Wishing everybody peace. Thank you.
Peace to all. Good to be here.
So good to be with you. Thank you. And when you're ready, let's sing.
You
Beautiful. Thank you so much. It was wonderful. Now, if you'll join me in our joint affirmation, we come together in peace. We sing together in joy and with love. We worship together in one house, a house with names beyond number. Our paths are many, our beliefs are as leaves, and the tree that we cleave to is nourished by the light of compassion, justice, and mutual respect. May our lives, our beliefs, and our actions help to bring about the world of love we all seek. And let it begin here. Thank you. Now is when we usually pray in our own homes and in our own ways for anything that really calls to us in the world at this time. As always, there are so many different things that need our prayers. I'm particularly moved thinking about the Indigenous families, the Indigenous children, those who've suffered both from the residential schools, but also just from colonization and everything that we settlers have wrought in this land since we came here. So if we could take some time right now to pray for reconciliation and for our Indigenous siblings, it'd be wonderful. Thank you, friends. Thank you. When you're ready, let's sing. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Oh, wonderful. Thank you all, as always, so much for your support. I am just getting the link to put in the chat. So for our donation page. So many of you already donate every month, quite often, to help support us. And we're so grateful for everything you do. It's really so beautiful what we've been able to do in the last 4 years. And so thank you all for your support. I was uploading another one of our videos yesterday. I realized we have about 90 videos on YouTube right now, which is so great, from speakers, I don't know, dozens of speakers that we've had over the years. So it's so wonderful, including many of you who are here now. So we're so grateful to all of you. And also I want to lift up Indian Residential School Survivor Society as another cause that could really use your support, as well as Doctors Without Borders, both of which do so much important work in the world. So if you have some extra funds that you'd like to send their way, it would be very appreciated and well used, I know. Excuse me. Are there any other causes that we'd like to highlight at this time? Okay, well, if anything occurs to you, please feel free to put it in the chat. And in the meantime, let's sing.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Bruce and Cheryl. So now it's my joy and honor and pleasure to turn it over to my friend, Francis Pring-Mill. So he is the author of the Tao Te Ching Companion Guide in Harmony with the Tao. I'll put the link for that in the chat if anyone is interested in reading that or learning more about Francis. And we're so blessed to have him here with us today. This will be his second time speaking to this group. But like Heraclitus's river that changes every 7 years, many of our folks are new and have not yet met him. So we're so grateful. So over to you, Francis. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you. To help guide what I'm going to say, I was going to share my screen. So let me just see if that works well. So I think I just click on share screen, right? And let's see how that goes. And let's go from here. So how does that work? What does that look like?
Yes, that looks great. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, everyone could see that? Okay. Good. So today we're going to focus on the wisdom of Taoism, as Kathy mentioned, and the opening quotes from the Tao Te Ching certainly put us in that frame of mind, and indeed those wonderful mantras that Cheryl and Bruce were singing as well are all part of that tradition. And I thought what I'd do is two things: spend a little time on what are often referred to as the 4 principles of Taoism, and then close with a meditation. And then we can talk as much as we might want after that, or whatever feels right. So the 4 principles of Taoism are often summarized as these 4. The first one being simplicity, patience, compassion. And if you're like me, you add them up and go, well, that's 3, so there's only 1 left. But they're often listed just as a threesome. That's the first principle there. The second one is the principle of going with the flow. The third, principle of letting go. And finally, the 4th one, the principle of harmony. So I thought a good way to spend some time with these might be to look at some quotes from the Tao Te Ching that illustrate each of those 4 principles. and then look a little into what might be the messages inside of them for us. And to help bring it home, I'll just illustrate that with an example from daily life. So I thought I'd just do each of the four, pardon me, in turn, starting with simplicity, patience, compassion. And some good quotes around these are the following. The first is probably the one that springs to most people's minds, chapter 67. Most of the time, Lao Tzu doesn't talk about teaching. In fact, he talks about not teaching, teaching without words. But in this case, he does actually use that teach word. He says, I have just three things to teach: simplicity, patience, compassion. These three are your greatest treasures. If you were to sum the whole of the Tao Te Ching up in 3 words, it would probably be those 3. Another quote, the simplest pattern is the clearest. And in thinking, keep to the simple. Regarding patience, this quote, do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles and the water is clear? Too many thoughts are like mud. And finally, with respect to compassion, the master views the parts with compassion because he understands the whole. So the principle there is simplicity, patience, compassion in those quotes. And I think the messages there are that if simplicity, patience, compassion are not present, then we're the ones getting in the way. We're the ones who create needless complexity that doesn't need to be there, or who become impatient with things being anything other than the way they are. Or we're the ones who approach the world looking at it from our viewpoint, which is always to look at the world in pieces, because our viewpoint is never the whole, which is what referred to by the master views the parts with compassion, because he understands the whole. So I think examples of that, and I'll just speak for myself, in daily life would look like, for simplicity, not overthinking things, which personally I find quite hard to do sometimes, making things more complicated than they need to be, and accepting that maybe what I need to do is stop thinking sooner than I think, which actually sounds a bit funny, but that's exactly what is called for, I think, in many situations where the overthinking seems to get in the way. Perhaps an everyday example might be riding a bicycle. If you're learning to ride a bike, there comes a point when you don't learn how to do it by reading yet another book about it. It's simpler than that. Get on the bike and go. Patience. An example with that might be being patient with a child, or in my case, a grandchild, taking the time to get ready to leave the house. It's so easy to say, like, come on already, like, hurry up. But if we stop and think about it for a minute, a good question to ask is, whose hurry are we in? The answer to that is, it's our hurry, certainly not the child's hurry. So patience with respect to that. And maybe an example for compassion, to listen to how an elderly neighbor is feeling that day. And we may think, I don't need this. I've got better things to do. I simply don't have the time for this. And from my point of view, it's not important. And that's exactly the problem from my point of view. And to say you don't have time for something, again, that's exactly the problem. It's your time. It's not a question of taking your time. It's a question of taking their time, or allowing their time, allowing the child's time, or the elderly neighbor's time. So just speaking for myself, that might be what some of these look like when they actually land on the ground of our daily lives. Second principle, going with the flow. Some quotes. The Tao flows through all things, inside and outside, and returns to the origin of all things. All things end in the Tao as rivers flow into the sea. The great Tao flows everywhere. When nothing's done, nothing is left undone. I think the principle there of flowing, going with the flow. Now, I think the message there is that going with the flow still means to go. And that quote there about when nothing is done, nothing is left undone, doesn't mean our role is to do nothing. There's a concept that's referred to here often by the phrase wu wei. Wu wei is the concept of action that's done without a premeditated end in mind. It's not contrived. sometimes referred to as effortless action, or not forcing things, not interfering with the natural unfolding of the Tao, rather contributing to it, if you like. Actions which spring from the Tao rather than when you're centered in yourself. So for me, examples of what that looks like might be these. Again, dwelling on that quote about when nothing is done, it's to be aware for me of the distinction between contributing to the flow, to go in the same direction, maybe influencing the flow to guide or shape it. And there are many references in the Tao Te Ching to the master guiding people, or she shapes events as they come and steps out of the way and lets the Tao speak for itself. So guiding and shaping is one thing, but then the third one, contributing, influencing, and then interfering, that's when we start to create the confusion and turmoil, when we try to alter it or change it, usually to our version of what we think it should be. So the going with the flow, suppose I was trying to help you do something. Contributing, going the same direction, might be to help you do whatever it is you're already doing. If I was perhaps influencing, I might say something like, well, had you thought of doing it this way, or what if, or perhaps we might, or whatever it might be. Interfering is when I say, no, you're doing it wrong, which is actually not very helpful. And that's when the should and should not starts to come out of my mouth. And that's basically my opinionated ego making itself heard, which is not going with the flow. So I think that's an example. Maybe another example of going with the flow is simply accepting that all things change, and that change is the flow, and not hold on to some things and not hold on to others, and judging the moments as this is a good moment or a good thing, and I'll hold on to that, and I'll worry about whether that bad one might happen in the future. That's when we lose it. That's when we're not in the flow. We've stepped outside it. We've made ourselves separate and apart. Third principle, letting go. Because she's let go of herself, this is speaking of the master, she is perfectly fulfilled. Another one, let go of fixed plans and concepts. If you realize that all things changed, there's nothing you'll try to hold on to. Just refer to that. If you want to accord with the Tao, just do your job, then let go. And finally, referring to the master again, things arise and she lets them come. Things disappear and she lets them go. The principle of letting go. So I think for me, I think the messages here are to listen, respond, and then let go of particular expectations as to the outcome of what you do, not try to force fit reality to meet whatever you think it should or shouldn't be. That's not where fulfillment comes from. Examples for me would be, well, that quote about let go of fixed plans and concepts, that always slows me down because I like plans and concepts. I like the details. But what I need to let go of when I let these quotes get to me, what I need to let go of is whether or not things go exactly according to plan. That's actually not the point. The point is, I think my part is to listen, make sure that my actions spring from the Tao, not my version of what I want things to be, not spring from the Tao, not myself. Do my best, of course, and maybe that's where the planning comes in, but then to let go and step aside and let things unfold as they will. There's really, at the end of the day, only one thing you need to let go of, and that is yourself. In fact, that first quote, if we flick back for a moment, because she's let go of herself. That's where fulfillment comes from. So that's the third one. The fourth, the principle of harmony. So here, some quotes on harmony. In harmony with the Tao, the sky is clear and spacious. The earth is solid and full. All creatures flourish together. If powerful men and women could remain centered in the Tao, all things would be in harmony. She who's centered in the Tao can go where she wishes. She perceives the universal harmony because she's found peace in her heart. And finally, he who's in harmony with the Tao is like a newborn child. The principle of harmony. So I think the message is here is that the natural order of things is harmony. The natural order of things is balance and equilibrium. And what upsets it is when we wade in with our fixed plans and concepts for the way things should be and start chasing our desires. And right on the heel of any desire comes the expectation that your desire is going to be fulfilled. And we sit there hovering over fixed plans and concepts. I'll speak for myself now, not for anyone else, because you want to make sure it goes exactly according to plan. Whereas the harmony is already there. In fact, I think an example for me is we're each of us here, if you like, to sing our song. And you've probably come across the quote, "Don't die with your song unsung." But I think the message is to sing our song in harmony with the music which is already here. In other words, to start by listening and then responding. Harmony, if you like, it's here all the time. We just tend to drown it out with all our noisy thoughts. So again, I should speak for myself. I tend to drown it out a lot of the time with all my noisy thoughts. For me, one of the best ways to reconnect with it is to put myself in natural surroundings when I can, to try and get away from anything man-made, surround myself with the big trees or the mountains or the rivers, whatever it might be, and just to empty my mind, to be at one with what is, to listen. The music it's there in the moment. It's not in thinking about the moment, or at least that's the way it seems to me. So we've taken a look there at the 4 principles of Taoism: the simplicity, patience, compassion, principle of going with the flow, not interfering with it or try to make the current flow upstream, letting go, in my case, of the fixed plans and concepts, and accepting what is. And finally, harmony, recognizing that the music is already there and our role is to sing in harmony with it and become part of that flow, become part of that harmony. So I'll close with a meditation, like I mentioned, and we'll go there now. And what I'll do for this is, it's a meditation I call Center Yourself in the Tao. And what I'll do is simply read the lines, and we can let them fall on us as they will, and maybe talk about them a little bit at the end. So the meditation goes like this. Your actions spring from whatever you're centered in. You can be centered in yourself or centered in the Tao. There are only 2 places. You choose. Centered in yourself, and I'll put the words on the screen if you want to see them at all. You hear nothing but the noise of your own thoughts. Your actions will spring from desire. Desire creates expectation. At best, your expectations will be met. You'll experience moments of fleeting satisfaction. At worst, you'll experience disappointment. What's more, these feelings will come and go as new thoughts and desires spring up to pull you this way and that. You'll feel separate and apart as you try to stand alone. You'll live in various forms of what the Tao Te Ching calls confusion and sorrow. You'll be at the edge of the circle. Center yourself in the Tao, and the noise stops. You become aware of the Tao continuously unfolding in endless cycles of expression and renewal. Desire and expectation will fall away. You'll hear harmony all around you. Centered in the Tao, your actions will spring from the Tao. At best, you'll experience pure joy as you add your unique notes to the music. At worst, you'll be carried by the Tao, because no thoughts and desires will pull you this way and that. Either way, you'll live in peace and serenity. These feelings will not come and go. As there are no fleeting moments in the Tao, it always was, and always will be. It's going nowhere. It simply is. You'll not feel separate and apart. You will not feel alone. You never were, by the way, even when you thought you were. You'll be at the center of the circle. So, be aware of the Tao. Center yourself in it. Let the Tao fill the core of your being. Then let your actions flow from the core of your being. Forget desire and expectation. Act with intent and caring. Listen for harmony. Add your own unique notes to the music. Your actions spring from whatever you're centered in. Center yourself in the Tao. So that's the end of the meditation. If you like those words, there are more words like it are in the book that Kathy referred to. That's me at the bottom, Francis Pring-Mill. And if you want to be in touch with me at any point, you can contact me just by going to the website and harmonywiththetao.com, and there's a little contact thing there that you can write a message, click on send, and I'll get the email and I'll reply to you. But for today, we've spent some time with the 4 principles of Taoism. We've closed on this meditation, and now I'll hand it back to Kathy. So I think, Kathy, you can just take over the screen again. Is that how it works?
There we go. So I just removed the spotlight, and then if you just end the share screen, or I don't know if I can.
No. Yep.
There we go.
How's that?
Perfect.
All right. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Francis. That was so lovely.
Oh, you're welcome.
Center this morning. Thank you. I think Bruce and Cheryl have one more song for us, and I'll do a closing prayer. And then if anyone would like to stay after to chat or to ask any questions and connect more with Francis, he said he can stay for a little bit. So that'd be great. When you're ready, Bruce and Cheryl, over to you.
Let
Gorgeous. Thank you so much. Yet another language that Bruce and Cheryl can sing in. I'm so amazed. Their resume, I don't know if I ever saw their resume. It must be astounding. Like, we can sing in 14 languages. We can play instruments you've never heard of. It's fantastic. We're just so blessed to have you two. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to Francis for joining us today. This was such a wonderful service. As we go forth into the weekend, let's try to embrace these as much as we can. Simplicity, patience, and compassion. Letting go and going with the flow and harmony. Seeing how we can orient ourselves in these values and in the Tao so that we can help cultivate these in all that we do in the weeks ahead. Thank you so much, friends. May you be blessed.